think a lot of businesses are realizing how much faster the customer moves now and how much more power the customer has from technology. And businesses are trying to figure out how they're going to keep up. And I think for us, this is one of the ways that State Farm, among many others, has found a way to try to keep up with and stay ahead of the consumer is by just working with them and letting them tell you every day what they need and what they want.
So as I continue my quest to take education from where it is to where it could be, I continue to look at innovative companies and organizations. And I recently read a book by one of my favorite leadership authors, Andy Stanley, and it was called Deep and Wide. And it was all about, from his organization's perspective, creating churches that unchurched people really wanted to attend. And so it was all about getting obstacles out of the way, creating the most inviting environment for people to come and to learn about God. Now, that doesn't directly translate into education, but what I've seen is that in education, as school leaders, we have the opportunity to create an environment where students desire to come and spend time, where students desire to come and not just spend time, but to engage in learning with other people. And that is one of the most rewarding parts of education. So as I've continued to look outside of education at these innovative companies and organizations, I became aware of a project that State Farm and IDEO, two of my favorite companies, have worked together on, and it's something called Next Door Chicago. And what they've done is they've created an environment where people desire to be and where they desire to engage in learning together as a community around the concepts of insurance and financial services and all the things that State Farm does. Here is my friend Brett Myers to tell you more about what they're doing there.
So Next Door Cafe by State Farm is basically a community center cafe. We do everything from one-on-one financial coaching to community classes and events, ranging from yoga to business and entrepreneurial classes, with the idea being we want to help build a community here on the north side of Chicago that's stronger, healthier, more financially stable every day. So we have the one-on-one coaching that goes through that. We have community events that the community actually teaches and learns from. And then the State Farm value is that we're learning with our customers as well. So when we can help people with their finances, we can better understand the kind of problems and potential solutions they need, and then figure out how State Farm provides those very things for the individual and for the community, quite frankly. Really, we started almost 3 years ago. It was an idea our executive team had trying to find a new way for us to reach out with a younger audience, and eventually we got to the point where we really thought we had something, and we built a prototype of Next Door Cafe with the intent being to see whether it's something we should actually deploy by bringing in consumers and letting them tell us what they thought of it. And it's kind of like a movie set version of what we have today for the purpose of testing and building and designing what we were doing. And eventually we heard enough good things and kind of figured out what the idea was behind the whole service offering here, and that's kind of where you see what's behind me today. Wanted to start in the very front and make it as open and approachable as it could be. So that's why the front doors literally come all the way open, and you have no barrier to entry, quite literally. And then as you go through the space, we wanted to create different feels. So, in the cafe portion, it's going to be a little more open and public feeling. And as you work towards the back, it's going to be more team spaces and semi-private spaces. And then you get to the actual conference rooms, which are as private as you can be. So the idea was we really wanted to create a place for all those different things you need, ranging from very public to very private, from talking and meeting space to workspace and quiet space. But try to give you a place to do 3 or 4 different things inside of the same physical space. We did it largely because it's something that makes sense for State Farm. From our inception, State Farm's been a company that's kind of community and local based. And this is kind of a new spin on that, obviously, but still very much grounded in that neighbor community feel, And when we were doing our early phase design of this, we got really good feedback on that. That's part of what people wanted, is a place to help facilitate community in a new way. So what we do a lot of times is just we're the platform for things that the community wants. So a lot of our classes are things we've heard or seen people in the neighborhood want, and then we find a local expert to teach the things they want. So we kind of just become the middleman to facilitate, I guess almost like we're facilitating a learning transaction where the teachers out there and the audience is out there, but nobody's bringing them together or bringing them together in the right way. So a lot of what we do is just that. The openness and Facebook and some of the craziness of social media is also really interesting when you give them a physical platform like Nextdoor and let them crowdsource and teach each other. The amount of information available to this generation is astronomically higher than any other generation. So you've got to figure out a way to harness it. So we've decided to harness it by letting them be the teachers and giving them a platform to teach each other and learn with each other. So we don't actually sell any products here, but the idea is if we can learn and just help people here, we can learn more broadly about what people want to know and how they want to know it, and then try to figure out how we play a role in that, outside of just this Nextdoor space here in Chicago. When you think about just the way information is presented to them digitally, for instance, with financial information, there's hundreds of companies and millions of websites that'll teach you about finances, but for some reason you still have a generation that's not really using those tools to learn about finances. And we think part of that is just like State Farm, of the value of a person to teach you and learn with you is still pretty powerful. So while technology obviously has a role, there's also still a pretty strong role for the person as the teacher. And my background is in accounting, which doesn't worry a whole lot about aesthetics. So a couple years ago, as I got this project, it was a big change in mindset for me over the last few years. And I think to put it in its simplest form is, if you want something to happen, you need to provide the right environment for that to happen. But if you want them to do something, provide the right physical and aesthetic environment for it to happen in. For us, that means it's more of an approachable cafe environment versus maybe like a traditional office environment for our customers. A lot of stuff that's getting some good traction and people are really excited about what's going on. And it really just fits with State Farm. I mean, that's one of the amazing things about this place is, as much as it's initially thought of so different, what we're doing just kind of fits in with the way State Farm focuses on their customers and really always has. So now this is just kind of a different way of doing that and trying to get out in front of this new emerging customer in their 20s and 30s.
I love this place. I mean, Nextdoor is an engaging environment, great people, and just a great community, and the whole aesthetic, both physically and environmentally and culturally, is just rich. And I long for that in education. What things can we do as educators to get some of the roadblocks, some of the obstacles out of the way, to bring our students, our parents, our community in, to engage in learning together? How can we as educators more intently listen to what our students are desiring to learn and the directions that they want to go, and not just in learning, but in helping their other peers to learn? I don't know about you, but I think what Nextdoor Chicago is doing is a great example of a learning environment that engages the people who belong to that community. And I desire that for my school and for every school across this nation. For more information on Nextdoor Chicago, visit nextdoorchi.com. For more information on State Farm and their many charitable efforts in education, go to statefarm.com and look at the About Us community involvement page. For more information about me, visit robbio.com.